timing is 7 to 9 minutes. Each title is The Art of Fulfillment. Speaker is Emilio Mazzucati, ACB-CLLE. Let's welcome Emilio.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. Athens, Greece, 2,400 years ago. A very compact city with about 250,000 people living there. There was a lot of stadiums, theaters, and shopping arcades all over. It was a very entertaining city. Warm city most of the year. And it was also home of plenty of better known philosophers of old time. One of them was Plato, probably on the very top of all. Plato was born into a very prominent and wealthy family, but he wasn't really, he was mostly dedicated to cultivate his mind and the fine aspects of life. He wrote 36 books. Some of the most important ones were the Symposium, the Republic, the Meno, the Laws, the Apology. And he devoted his life mostly to help people reach a state, what he called eudaimonia, or fulfillment. He dedicated most of his life to that. He was not really blinded by all these flashes that came from the city about all the entertainment. He wasn't into that really. So regarding the fulfillment, he had like 4 big ideas that he really worked on. The number 1 idea said, think more. We usually don't take time to deeply think into the cause of our life. And we follow what Greeks called doxa, or popular opinions. People usually go towards the masses and they seek for identity under various types of groups, whatever suits them the best. The problem with following popular opinions is that we get away from our own nature, from what we came to do, our call. We end up with wrong relationships, careers, making wrong decisions. And for this, Plato had an answer. He said, know yourself. This may be one of the hardest tasks you ever come across, to know yourself. It takes a lot of courage. He said we should carefully examine our own ideas so that we don't make these type of impulsive decisions. If you can fill up your mind with a lot of knowledge permanently, you can then rely on your own thoughts and not depend on emotions. I mean, feelings are good, but not to depend on emotions. Number 2, that's a good one. Let your lover change you. Now, this may sound weird. You're a person that says, I don't want nobody to change me. I want to find a person that takes me exactly as I am. Well, Plato thought this about it. He had his input. He said, true love is admiration. When you seek for a partner, you look at a partner by his virtues, qualities, but not just any random virtue or quality. They have to be the ones that are aligned with what we need. That it matches like this. It's not something very conscious, but it happens. The right person is the one that is as committed as we are into building each other. And it's going to happen for you or for everybody. If this piece of hand is wandering in the room, right, and this one as well, I don't know at what point these hands are going to do this. When this happens, it's going to last forever. And that's for everybody. It's a kind of a law of attraction, how it works. A couple really shouldn't be aiming to love each other at the very beginning. That really doesn't happen there. Like very similar, strong things happen in the beginning, which followed by these mutual paths of education. Because a relationship is actually a process of education about knowing each other and building each other. So if that happens, then it leads to what comes after, love, which is something much more advanced than the initial passion. But a lot of people complain about their relationships, and they say, you changed a lot. You're not the same person I met when we were dating. Yeah, that's what happens exactly. You get what? That person is a result of blending into you all these years. So you may see a little bit of you in that person. The third one, decode the message of beauty. Everyone pretty much likes beauty, admires beauty, and we all have our own input about beauty, what we're seeing. But Plato has this question. Why do we like what we like? He had a fascinating reason to this. He said, beautiful objects are whispering to us truths about us. Every time you encounter something beautiful, it actually has for you a value that is ready to be placed into life at that point. For example, I see that beautiful lake with those trees and grass, and I say, wow, how beautiful. It's incredible. I'm not really after the image. What I'm in need of is that peace that represents, right? When I see that bird flying, I say, wow, look at that bird, how beautiful. I'm not after the animal flying. I'm actually after probably balance, right? Where I see that beautiful piece of architecture, I say, look at that temple, look at these angles. Probably what I need is that harmony, right? That's what beauty. He says, decode the message of beauty. Beauty actually educates the soul. Art is therapeutic. And number 4 is reform society. And this is all about integration. Plato spent an enormous amount of time thinking about how can an individual, after these previous 3 pillars, become fulfilled. Now, if he's missing the part where he belongs to society and doesn't fit in with the government, there's a problem there. I mean, you cannot be totally happy if you live in a very unsafe country, for example. So he was thinking, how can he blend these two? He looked at Athens had this city rival, which was Sparta. Sparta was a perfect society, but they were more kind of a war machine. All its people were really prepared to fight. It looked like a perfect society in there. So he said, I want that, but for Athens, but instead of from the military point of view, I want that for us, but for fulfill citizens. How can we achieve that? He said, it's very possible to achieve that, but it has to be through the method of conquering politics, right? If we are happy with the president, well, right now we are really used to having role models of these pop artists or singers or athletes, right? But what it should be in a perfect society is that we're looking up to the government, these type of leaders. That should be the perfect. The problem is, he said, for this to happen, democracy has to end. And it sounds crazy, but he said this because he observed that very few people knew what they were doing when they were voting. So democracy shows up by saying everybody can vote. After a certain age, everybody can vote. But is really something positive or negative? It should be, he said, it should be considered to vote. Somebody that wants to vote and is qualified by the age, they should prepare. Because then everybody else which is prepared to vote suffers the consequences of these long periods of lousy administrations. Just because we all can vote here, let's go vote. But he said that's not really positive. If you want to vote, you have the right now by age, but you should go through a certain part of a preparation, like a test or something like that. So he said it's possible if citizens are prepared. So these 4 pillars constitute the pillars of fulfillment, what he saw. He created a school also called the Academy for this purpose. Now we recap. Number 1 talks about yourself. Know yourself. Number 2 is building yourself through love, relationships. Number 3 is nurturing yourself through decoding beauty. And number 4 is integrating yourself. a blend between society, government, and your role in it.